city of Philadelphia. Yeah, brotherly love. And it's hot in the city. Citizens Bank Park on a Saturday night. Game 2 of a weekend series. The Phillies beat the Marlins last night. Come on inside. Everybody's getting ready. Marlin fans, Fanatic fans. Yeah, I told you, the Fanatic's mom is even here. Tonight's field's ready. Hooray! Love the shirt, love the smile. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Preston Wilson. Second half of the Major League season started last night. For the Marlins, they wanted to get off to a great start. They didn't. You leave the door open just a little bit. Even a team like the Phillies can walk through and beat you.
Well, it shows that you have to finish the drill and you have to respect every team in this league, because when you don't take care of your inner business, you allow someone else to have a chance to take that game.
All right, here's how the door cracked open just a little last night. There were some things the Marlins did not execute in the ballgame last night, and for the Fish, it was costly. Let's start with this one. Runner at second, the bunt. The Marlins did not field it.
Just a bad read by Casey McGee. I think he misread the speed. Instead of coming and taking out, he thought maybe there could be a play at third base, and they didn't make that play.
It was 2-1 Marlins at this point. Justin Bourque couldn't get the ball into his glove. The bags were loaded. Carter Capps came in. Michael Franco to center.
Cole Gillespie had a really shallow route on this ball. Ends up trying to go back and reach up and catch it at the same time. The ball goes past his eyes, and from there on, it's a guessing game.
Gillespie, after the ball game, said he just felt like he overran the ball. Certainly a hollow feeling. Now, that allowed a run to score. Mike Dunn came in, and this made it hurt. A 3-run pinch hit homer by Jeff Francoeur.
Wasn't a bad pitch, but when you have a left-handed pitcher facing a right-handed batter, that breaking ball comes into you, and it gives you a chance to get the barrel on the ball, even when you're out front.
Marlins trying to turn the page. Tom Kohler, Chad Billingsley. Billingsley, a little bit of unknown. He's been out with injuries the last couple of years.
Well, this is really going to come down to Tom Kohler having fastball command and limiting this pitch count in the early innings.
Ready to go. The Fanatics here. Got to stay cool. The Fish need a win tonight, trying to win this series in Philly. First pitch right around the bend. Florida. Let's go places. By Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's largest Kubota dealer. Visit us at FloridaCoastEQ.com. And by AutoNation. Visit us online, AutoNation.com. Great shot of Philadelphia. Citizens Bank Park, the Marlins and the Phillies. Phillies 6-3 winners last night. The Marlins lineup. Some tweaks with the right-hander Billingsley on the mound. JM Lexus brings it to you. Ichiro in the leadoff spot. Martin Prado hits second. Christian Yelich, who doubled last night, hits third. Justin Bour in the cleanup spot. Adeiny Echeverria hitting fifth. Derek Dietrich at third. JT Realmuto homered late in last night's ball game. Cole Gillespie hits eighth. He's in center, and Tom Kohler hits ninth. That is Chad Billingsley, a guy that was in the Dodgers rotation for so many years, somewhat disappeared for 2 seasons, elbow pain in 12, Tommy John surgery in 13, and a torn flexor tendon last year. And he delivers a fastball, letter high to Ichiro. It's a strike. Pinch a penny brings you the first pitch. This game underway.
Ichiro sitting at 257, starting to swing the bat a little bit better as of late.
Last night, Ichiro a solid line drive to left, and he bends out of the way of that Billingsley fastball. Ichiro 5 for his last 11, and of course that was after undergoing his longest offer in his career. That one fouled back, and the count is 2-2. Marlins looking for an answer in the leadoff spot, while that thumb of D. Gordon's heals. Tonight it's Ichiro with Prado hitting second. Yelich still in that 3 spot. The fastball up. Billingsley is kind of a real powerfully built 6'1", but 245, thick and strong in the lower half. Ichiro busts his bat. Howard gets over and seals off the line, gets the out. Phillies defensively, and it's brought to you by BMW.
Starting from left field, Cody Ashley's in left. Ben Revere is in center. Dominic Brown is at right field. Markel Franco is at third base. Freddie Galvis at shortstop. Cesar Hernandez at second base. Ryan Howard at first. Chooch Ruiz is the catcher, and Chad Billingsley is the pitcher.
Pete Buchanan, the temporary interim skipper in the wake of the resignation of Ryan Sandberg. Buchanan, a guy that has managed in that spot in an interim basis in a couple of places, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Check swing. Did Prado go? Yes, he did. John Tumpane down at first base. It's Bill Welke behind the plate. John Hirschbeck is out at second, and Alan Porter is at third. And look at Prado trying to keep the barrel of the bat from striking at the ball. The 0-2. And this looks like the old Chad Billingsley, doesn't it? A guy that had the power fastball, sharp breaking ball, and was a really nice starter for the Dodgers. Was 20 games over 500 in his 8 years with Los Angeles.
And he's still only 30 years old.
The breaking ball is in. We hear so many stories about Tommy John surgery and how well it goes, and the guy's back within a year. Didn't happen with Billingsley. Elbow pain, tried injections in 2012, finally did the surgery in 2013. Prado gets that hanging breaking ball and lines it hard to Ashe in left. And there are 2 outs. And then last year he tore a flexor tendon during his rehab. That put him out for the rest of 14 as well. Yelich now, a double last night, hitting third for the Fish tonight. Christian on a nice run last 16 games. An average at 389, and he's reached base in all of those 16 games.
Everything just looks more comfortable. The swings look more comfortable. The takes look more comfortable. He looks like a much more confident hitter than we saw in the first couple months of the season.
Oh-2 is out. Off-center look from the center field camera. So unlike Marlins Park or other in Major League Baseball, this one just off. So that pitch right there is actually further out than it appears. And in that same spirit, that one dips away. First time we've seen a changeup. See how far those pitches miss? 2-2 coming to Yelich. Billingsley trying to get the feel of that pitch.
Yeah, he hung one to Prado. Prado laced it to left. That one he kind of spun up there. That's the pitch that in the dugout you got to say he doesn't have a feel for it yet. So guys have to take note of that.
Yelich bangs that one into center, and leaping is Ben Revere to make the catch. 2 loud outs to the outfield, but a 1-2-3 inning. Here comes Tom Kohler. The Marlins and the Phils, 87 degrees at game time. And here come the Phillies, brought to you by JM Lexus. Ben Revere in the leadoff spot. He can run. Cesar Hernandez, very good at getting on base. Mikhail Franco, talented young player. Ryan Howard, a big hit last night. Carlos Ruiz did not start last night's game. Dominic Brown still trying to find his stroke. Freddie Galvis, switch hitting shortstop. Cody Ashley is actually out in left field. And Chad Billingsley hits ninth. Tom Kohler against the Phils. You see the year that Kohler has had a nice 3.40 ERA and has pitched well his last 4 starts to a 1.73 ERA and a 3-1 record. And he gets Ben Revere to lead it off. Revere has really kicked it into gear somewhat. See those numbers, the on-base percentage at 337. That's the one number he'd like to move up a little higher. He has good numbers against Kohler. Fouls that one off. 9 hits and 19 at-bats. And with his sudden hot spell here, all of a sudden he's a guy that other teams are starting to look for. Teams that are looking for some leadoff pop, like a Seattle, have been kicking the tires on Ben Revere. 1-2 up.
Well, there's a shortage of true leadoff men in the game. Not that many guys have the speed combination with the ability to get on base.
Breaking ball. It's going to be a tough play. Echeverria, quick release, and he doesn't get him. The ball trickles and stays in play. That's going to be a base hit. Etch really released it quickly, but you could see Revere had it beat. And he's aboard.
That's a great backhander. Got it out front, got him a good hop. Just too speedy of a runner and a tough play. But I can't imagine any other shortstop making that play as close, other than maybe an Andrelton Simmons from Atlanta.
And obviously Revere's a threat to run. He's got 21 bags this year. Here is Cesar Hernandez, the switch hitting second baseman. And he takes outside. Hernandez is an underappreciated asset in that he's a switch hitting middle infielder who gets on base at a .362 on base clip. Kohler gets a strike. It's 1-1. There he is, out of Venezuela. His third year in the big leagues. Signed originally with the Phillies 9 years ago. One mystery surrounding Tom Kohler: the home and road splits. A 179 Ernie at home, 507 on the road. Hernandez takes a strike, but he has had some better outings on the road of late. He got beat in Boston. One of the 5 runs was earned. There were 4 unearned runs, thanks in large part to his throwing error. Revere runs and Hernandez fouls it at the plates. They count 1-2.
Well, I think the big thing for Kohler is once he gets through that lineup the first time, he has to make sure that he is executing the second time through the lineup. Team's batting averages jump tremendously on him his second time through the lineup, and that's something that he's going to have to work on.
Road wins in Colorado and at Wrigley against the Cubs, though, over the last month and a half bode well. And there's the line that you were mentioning. Kohler slotted second in the Marlins rotation as they start the second half. He has not pitched in a big league game, obviously, since the 8th of July. 9 days rest, but has had throwing sessions, simulated games, enough to take advantage of the rest and the break, but stay sharp. Chuck Hernandez sitting next to Jose Fernandez. Revere runs again, pitches up. Real Muto's throw, and it handcuffed Echeverria, who may have been in a hurry trying to get the speedy Revere. It's a pretty good throw by Real Muto.
A great pitch to throw. When you're a catcher, you get the ball up and out. You come up out of your crouch, you can get that throw off quickly. But a good jump by Ben Revere. Good slide there. And I think he may have been safe even if Echeverria catches this ball and is able to apply the tag. You get a good look at it. See, that ball's up there. He just gets out of his crouch, gets it there. Yeah, I think he's going to be safe anyway. Let's just really try to get it over there quickly.
2-2 now. And it's in to Hernandez. You've got Franco, Howard, and Ruiz lined up in this Phillies lineup. And as we described with Hernandez, here he is in a deep count at 3-2. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming. And he walks. So an infield hit, a stolen base, and a walk. Franco comes up, and so does Miami's defense. It's brought to you by BMW.
Go around from left to right. Christian Yelich is in left. Cole Gillespie finds himself in center field tonight. Ichiro Suzuki's in right. Dietrich's at third. Echeverria at shortstop. Martin Prado second base. Justin Bohr, the big man, is at first. JT Realmuto, who homered late last night, is catcher. And Tom Kohler's on the mound.
Kyle Franco now, who has emerged in somewhat of a bright light in a season where the Phillies are in need of such. End of the bat, little roller. Prado shovels out there, and Echeverria clipped on the slide, had no play at first. The Phillies at the corners, Franco at first, and Revere now at third.
Got him a ground ball there. Unfortunately, was hit too softly to turn to, but that's also been something that's been helping Tom Kohler in his last few outings, getting more ground balls, and that's helping him get some double plays with this good infield that he has playing behind him, help him get out of some tough innings.
Ryan Howard. Howard was the focal point in a couple of his at-bats last night. His RBI single was the second run against Jose Fernandez, and his strikeout against Mike Dunn on the other side was the part of Dan Jennings' strategy in the 8th. He wanted Dunn to face Howard. Unfortunately, Jeff Francoeur was looming in the dugout. That one into center field, and Howard has given the Phillies the lead. Now, Ryan Howard's bat has really perked up.
Kohler got a ball in the middle of the zone, and the big guy does what big guys do. He hammered it. That's a breaking ball that just stops right in the middle of the plate. And if there is a spot where Ryan Howard can hurt you, it's when you leave something soft up. That's where he's really dangerous. He gets those arms extended, and he really hit that ball hard.
So the Phillies off to a 1-0 start, and here is Ruiz. Ruiz did not play last night. You see 58 games. Cameron Rupp was in the catcher spot last night. And they've kind of been sharing duties of late. Ruiz not a headline grabber, but certainly a very big part of the success that the Phillies had in their nice run through 2 World Series, 1 World Series championship, both as the guy that handled an incredible rotation and was known for getting big hits, driving in a lot of runs in big situations.
Definitely clutch. And the way he handled that pitching staff, he garnered all those guys' respect. And when you look at the Marlins, a guy like JT Realmuto, that's what he's trying to achieve. He's trying to achieve that trust factor from every pitcher that he goes out there and works with, that they trust what he's doing back there and what he's calling, and it makes the game flow easier for them.
Tom Kohler with a 2-2 pitch to Carlos Ruiz. And he missed. Kohler paused for a moment. It's a hot, sticky night. That one outside. Runners on the move. Chopper over the middle. Echeverria backhands. Prado's turn is not in time. And the Phillies inning is still alive. A nifty play by Echeverria. Prado, of course, formerly played a lot of second base. Hasn't done so in the last couple of seasons with a clean turn.
Got fortunate there, got a slower base runner in Ryan Howard, because most base runners are going to be on top of you on that play. So the Marlins were actually fortunate to get an out on that ball.
Now Dominic Brown, who was 0 for 3 last night. The slugging percentage that you see at .241 is of great concern to the Phillies and their fans. And Brown lines it to center. That's a hit. And a 2-0 Philly lead.
Right now, Tom Kohler's just too much in the big part of the plate, and it's up in the zone, and you're seeing these Philly batters take really good swings.
Chuck Hernandez on his way out to the mound to talk to Kohler.
Stuff is never a problem for a guy like Tom Kohler. He's got stuff. He's got mid-90s fastball. He's got that swing and miss breaking ball. It's more about him being able to place the ball where he wants to. He gets in trouble missing location. On that last pitch, JT Realmuto reached his glove across probably a good 8 to 10 inches. You can't miss by that much in the big leagues.
Freddie Galvis now. Galvis 1 for 4 last night. Switch hitter. Kohler misses. Galvis got off to a great start with the bat, and then struggled a bit, trying to get himself back in a spot where the Phillies can look at him and say that's an everyday shortstop for the next 4 or 5 years.
With Cesar Hernandez, Michael Franco, Freddie Galvis, they have a good young core of guys. And even Herrera, who's not starting tonight, they have a good young core of guys who look like some exciting ball players.
What they don't have is an Utley, a cornerstone guy that you could build around. A Worth, breaking ball, fly ball right field. Ichiro back now in, and he makes the catch. But the Phillies get 2 early ones against Tom Kohler. Dad, there you go. You can still take advantage. Prorated season ticket plans with the best seats. Upcoming series in the second half. Got Nationals and Mets and Red Sox and many other teams. Enjoy all the benefits of becoming a Marlins Fish family member. Go to marlins.com/2015 tickets. Call 1-877-MARLINS and secure your seats today. Rich Waltz along with Preston Wilson. Sitting in for Tommy Hutton, who returns on Monday. Justin Bour getting comfortable. Chad Billingsley misses up. And it's 1-0. Justin Bour has been a bright spot for the Fish. You see the production, his slugging percentage right at .500. The league average slugging percentage is .390. And so anytime you're up in the mid to upper 400s or in the low 500s, you're doing damage, and that's certainly what Bour has done this year. Changeup and a strike. It's 2-1.
10 home runs, 9 doubles for Justin Bour, and just 172 at bats.
Chopper to short. Galvis gets a big hop and gets the out. So one out, and here comes Echeverria. We were talking earlier on Marlins Live about Adeiny Echeverria hitting in the 5 spot, and for Etch, that's new territory, and that's kind of been the theme this year, especially after hitting so well in the 8 spot, and then injuries, a need for hitters higher in the order. One of the things that Dan Jennings told us today, feels that Etch is versatile, and as well doesn't really want to hit Echeverria and Martin Prado back to back. They're both the same kind of hitter. Early contact, not a lot of strikeout, or not a lot of walks. 0-2. So Etch finds himself 5th, and Prado's in the 2 spot.
Well, Etch has been all over the lineup. Hit 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7th, and 8th this year. First time hitting in the 5 hole.
Smacks that one right by Billingsley.
And obviously the 5 hole is not affecting him so far. It was a great swing, took that ball right back up the middle. Billingsley left something up and out over the plate. Etch didn't try to do too much with it. Nice, short, compact swing. Look at that. That's nice. Good balance.
So Miami has their first hit, first base runner, and the birthday boy digs in. Derek Dietrich is 26 today, and last night a pinch hitting appearance. Nearly knocked in a couple. He hit a hard shot up the middle that Galvis captured, and it was a big moment in the ball game for 2 reasons. For the Fish, it was a chance to break a 2-2 tie with 2 outs. As well, it meant that Jose Fernandez was removed from the game to give Dietrich that opportunity to knock in the runs.
Well, it's something that when you look at it and you have a chance to add on with men in scoring position, I don't mind Derek Dietrich taking that at bat. I know you'd like to see Jose Fernandez in the game, but it's understandable why they made that move.
Billingsley misses down. Well, he threw a 2-0 changeup to Bour earlier in the inning. You wonder if Dietrich is thinking that. Echeverria at first. Now he threw the changeup again. A called strike, and it was out of the zone.
See, that's something as a left-handed batter that's got to be in your mind. He did it to Bour. Now he's done it to Dietrich. He's going to let those lefties try to get a little bit.
Hot smash. Hernandez, Galvis. Boy, Dietrich's hit it hard twice in this series and has nothing to show for it.
2-0 lead in the second inning. A couple of more injury updates for the Marlins, starting off with Don Kelly. He has undergone season-ending Tommy John surgery after dealing with some lingering pain and soreness in his elbow. His expected recovery time is about 9 to 10 months. Also, Jeff Baker, who had a strained oblique, he is progressing well. Right now, he is working on range of motion so he can make his return. And then Jared Cozart, who's in the minors right now, he had a setback with his vertigo. He had to come out of a game last night in New Orleans after only 2 innings. They're hoping that it was only dehydration, but they're certainly going to want to keep an eye on him and make sure he is good to go before making another start. So, Rich, the Marlins continuing to work towards having a healthy roster, but they are not quite there yet.
Yeah, it is a work in progress, and the two biggest pieces, Dee Gordon and Giancarlo Stanton. Hopeful the Marlins hoping that in the next couple weeks they've got both of them back and in the lineup. Cody Ashe, who's in left for the Phillies, Chad Billingsley and Ben Revere against Tom Kohler. Change up, little tapper by the mound. Prado, and safe at first. The ball bounces out of the glove of Bohr just as Ashe was arriving. Let's hope Prado is okay. Remember, he banged that shoulder and put him on the disabled list for a month, and he kind of had to roll on that same shoulder on this play.
That's just a great effort. Bear hands it, gets it there. Justin Bohr can't quite hold on, but that's one of those balls just hit at the perfect speed in the perfect spot to make that even possibly a hit.
Frustrating for Kohler, and it sets up for Billingsley. We'll try to bunt the runner up. They're going to give an error to Justin Bohr on the play. The ball popping out of his glove. Certainly not an easy play with the odd angle and the timing of it. But if he holds the ball, Marlins would get the out. Ball and a strike.
See Bohr have to reach up there. Would have been really close. You got to remember the ball has to be in the back of the glove for it to be called an out in this new replay era.
The bunt is down. Kohler picks it up and throws high and over Prado's head. And the Phillies are set up at the corners and nobody is out. And the Marlins just can't get it out at first base right now.
This just seems to be lingering. This looks like an extension of last night. Didn't get set to make that throw. He and Bohr were kind of coming together at the same time. Bohr called the ball. Kohler takes it anyway and then throws it away. When the pitcher gets called up on that ball, I mean, usually the first baseman is telling you, I got this play. And with the angle that Kohler had, he's going to be running into the base runner. Momentum take him into the baseline. That's a play he probably should let Justin Bohr have.
And that's the benefit of Bohr making the play. He's already set up inside the line and has an easier path to get to Prado instead of throwing over the runner.
And doesn't have to stop his momentum going towards the line.
So an E3 and an E1 and a mess here on a hop. Prado bobbles, throws, gets just the one out. Probably would only get one with Revere running, but the Phillies have another run and it's 3-0. So Revere drives in a run. The normally sure-handed Prado had his difficulties with that one. Well, it was a messy night last night for the Fish. Couple errors, a mental miscue, and tonight has not started out well either. Breaking ball, a strike to Hernandez.
Marlins already have 2 errors in this game. They haven't had very many games where they've made multiple errors. Made 2 errors last night.
Hernandez lashes that 0-1 pitch foul. 3 runs on 3 hits and 2 Miami errors. That's the bulk of the lifting for the Phillies tonight. Dan Jennings, Chuck Hernandez watching. Up the middle, Echeverria towards the bag, gets the out, and then gets the double play at first. Kohler rolls a double play. The Phillies pick up a run, and it's 3-0. Well, he's had last two starts a couple of struggles in Boston and here in Philly. It's 3-0. Phil's on top. You can tweet your strongest fan photo. Hashtag it FLDataStrongFan. You just might see yourself in an upcoming telecast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. The beneficiary of everything that's happened in the bottom of the innings is Chad Billingsley. And in the top of the third, he misses up to JT Realmuto. Cole Gillespie, Tom Kohler for the Fish. 3-0 Phils. If the Phillies get the Chad Billingsley that was in the Dodger rotation, they'll have a nice piece in their rotation, because he was pretty good. 3.65 as a Dodger, an all-star in 2009, and he was 81 and 61. And he signed a nice contract that was going to keep him a Dodger for 3-4 years. Unfortunately, 3 of those years he was hurt and really didn't pitch a lot. Made a lot of money in those 3 years. Realmuto into right field, well hit. Brown over for it, has it on the track, and JT Realmuto, who homered in his last at bat last night, doubles in his first at bat tonight.
As a manager, you gotta like seeing a young kid like this do what Realmuto's starting to do at the plate. Pulled the home run late in the game last night. This is a nice line drive down the right field line. This is using the whole field, and that's when you start to see a guy becoming a more complete hitter.
Now here is Gillespie. A dramatic double for Gillespie last night. That tied the game. But of course, most people that watch the highlights or watch the game remember the fly ball that banged off his glove as he tried to make that running catch in left center field. And for a guy that is up and by all accounts going into last night has made great impressions on the Marlins here at the big league level, that's a frustrating thing to have happen. You see what he's done at the plate in the last 10 games. Preston, you're an outfielder. You played some center field as well. What happened here?
Right here, this is the ball that he really got fooled on. His route was a little bit too shallow, and then he ends up overrunning the ball because the ball's tailing back to him. The hitter had a little inside-out action on the swing, and the ball curved back towards him. He ends up overrunning it, and when you do that, the ball goes past your eyes, and you get a bad result.
On a hop, or is it caught? I thought the ball hit dirt. Now Gillespie's running back to first. The first base umpire said catch. Real Muto has been tagged out. It looked like the ball hit dirt, but maybe the eyes of John Tumpanes are better than mine. As it is, Real Muto saw the out call and had to run back to second. And that changed the whole dynamics here. Watch this. Did it hit dirt, or will he catch it?
He caught it.
He caught it. That's a good call by Tumpain. The entire Marlin dugout reacted, including Kohler on deck and Gillespie, like it was trapped. And boy, the Marlins, for Kohler, this is the 9th hitter to face Billingsley. And the Fish have some balls that they've hit hard that have gone nowhere. Prado and Yelich hit it extremely hard in the first, lining out to left and to center. Echeverria had a line drive hit. Dietrich hit a bolt up the middle that turned into a double play. Real Muto's double was hit well. And now Gillespie hits a seed, and that turns into 2 outs.
Just got to keep banging and hope something starts to turn your way.
Kohler fouls it back.
And the frustration that gets added onto that is when you're not doing the other things to keep yourself in ball games or in better shape by making the routine plays, making sure you field bunts. You have to take those routine outs, because then when you don't get the hits, it snowballs.
Pitch is out. And Kohler has worked the count full at 3-2. Top of the order, Ichiro on deck. And Billingsley strikes out Kohler. A frustrating night so far for Miami, down 3-0. Of that pair. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts, descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. And the Marlins, that's how the Marlin fan feels, with a little Philly flavor. I don't know that the Marlins would like anybody to reproduce or retransmit the first 2.5 innings of this ball game. The Fish frustrating a couple of errors leading to a run in the second. Phillies picking up 2 in the first, and then on the other side of it, Miami barreling up some balls without any results. No runs on just 2 hits. On a 90-degree night, Coors arrives with a cold, hard fact. Since June 2nd, look at the difference home to road. Look at a run differential, a -36 on the road. Look at the ERA, the batting average. Home runs are pretty much even. In the last 5 games the Marlins have lost on the road, they've dropped 12 of their last 14 on the road. All that being said, it's a small ballpark. It's a 3-0 lead. Things change in a hurry here. Mikhail Franco takes a breaking ball up from Tom Kohler. Ryan Howard, Carlos Ruiz in the bottom of the 3rd. Phillies are excited about Franco. They think all of a sudden they have found a guy that can be a productive offensive player. Slugging close to 500. You brought up the point that if you look at Franco, at Hernandez, at Galvis, there is some young talent here. But for Chase Utley and the old guard, it's been a long, long year. Utley's still on the disabled list. Fastball is up. Now, as well, Austin Nola makes his Major League debut. Excuse me, Aaron Nola. Austin is in AAA with the Marlins, his brother. Louisiana guys. So Aaron Nola, their top pitching prospect, will get the start against the Rays on Tuesday. Austin was just elevated from AA to AAA and has actually hit better in AAA than he was hitting in AA. Franco walks, Howard's up, and he sends one deep but foul down the left field line.
We see Kohler going back to the fastball there after walking the last hitter on 4 straight balls. Got to get that fastball command down, and that's usually a pretty good barometer of how Tom Kohler's game is going when you look at the percentage of strikes that he's throwing with his fastball.
Howard fouls it back to the screen. Do you think Ryan Howard is in a Philly uniform come August 1st?
If there's a team that needs some power, and with his 15 home runs, he's proven that he can still hit the ball out of the ballpark. He very well could be going somewhere. I think the contract is problematic.
1 more year on it, $25 million.
But if you're a team who feels like you need that one extra piece just to have that a little bit more thump in your lineup to give you that threat, there may be a team that could find him and say he could fit with us.
To center, Gillespie has it. Franco scampers back to first. Cole Gillespie runs down Ryan Howard. And here comes Carlos Ruiz. Remember yesterday we were talking about the lights in Washington, D.C. The Dodgers and the Nationals were suspended last night. Twice the lights went out. Some blame Taylor Swift because she had a concert in there. They resumed that game, and South Florida product Matt Den Decker had a pinch hit home run. Washington won the first game, the resumption of the suspended game, and then Clayton Kershaw turned out the lights with 14 strikeouts in Game 2, 4-2. So the Dodgers and the Nationals essentially split. They said it was either Taylor Swift or Bryce Harper's blow dryer. That was from a unnamed national player. Oh-2. Was it Joe Pepitone that was reported to the first guy to use a hair dryer in a major league clubhouse?
That's a pretty good stat if it is. I'd like to be known to be the guy who brings something new into the clubhouse. Wonder who's the first guy to use hair gel.
Here's a 1-2. You know, that's easy. I'll bet you go back to the 20s for that, right?
Oh, yeah, back in the Vitalis days.
Vitalis days,
Yeah.
There you go. Was Hawk Harrelson the first to wear the batting glove? That's
okay.
Legend has it. We'll get our crack staff on the Pepitone story, but I think it was a Yankee from the 60s or the early 70s. That one fouled back. Steve Yeager, out of necessity, the first to wear that neck protector. He was actually injured when the business end of a broken bat stuck in his throat when he was in the on-deck circuit.
Nice pitch by Tom Kohler. Big breaking ball locks Ruiz up.
Here comes Dominic Brown.
Kohler sitting at 53 pitches, but that may be the best one of the night. Breaking ball that comes in, hangs inside, freezes the hitter.
Brown line one into center back in the first. Ball and a strike. Phillies just 30-62, which added to the frustration last night. The Marlins losing 6-3. One didn't come out of the hand right. You can see Kohler is sweating. It is hot and sticky. Upper 80s, humid. Franco the runner at first. Hard hit. Prado gets the out. Brown's hit it hard twice tonight. 3-0. Phillies, Ichiro coming up. no batting practice. Randi Vision Cam. The Phillies had their annual photo day. What happens is fans come out onto the field, and the Phillies, in an orderly fashion, all walk through the fans. If it's a little hot, Jake Diekman cooling everyone down. The Fanatic was there. Photo day. Everyone gets to, especially now in the age of selfies, photo day has become even more popular. Because who doesn't have a camera in their smartphone, right? Now everybody's got one. Ichiro, little comebacker. Billingsley has it. Underhands to first.
Looked like a changeup there from Billingsley. He's really used that a lot early in this game against left-handed batters. When the batter's ahead in the count, we've seen a few 2-0 changeups. That was a 1-0 changeup. So he's letting those left-handers get aggressive in hitters' counts and pulling a string on them and producing some pretty easy outs for him.
Here's Martin Prado. By the way, we are blessed here in Philly to have as our baseball historian one Ed Svita, who is known in the sports television community as the rock star of statisticians, especially in the headquarters of Fox Sports in Los Angeles. And as soon as he heard the Joe Pepitone reference and the thought that I had that Pepitone was the first to use a hair dryer in a big league clubhouse, Ed quickly provided more detail. Here's the 1-1. Hanger, and it's punched down the line by Prado. And he's got himself a double. Prado hit that same pitch for a loud out in the first inning. And Billingsley spun one up there, and Prado this time has a double.
If there seems to be a pitch that Billingsley is having trouble commanding, it is his breaking ball so far today. The fastball looks good. The changeup looks good. He's thrown some really sloppy breaking balls up there, and Prado has hit two of them really hard, one for a hit, and as you mentioned before, the other was a really hard line drive to Cody Ashley out there in left field in the first at bat.
Here is Christian Yelich. He lined to center. That one fouled back. Well, anyways, Ed provided detail, maybe more detail than I was either expecting or hopeful for. And he confirmed that in 1963, indeed, it was Pepitone who not only was the first to bring a hair dryer, but also hairspray and a hair piece.
That is the trifecta of all things follicle related.
And carried his grooming products around the American League for the Yankees, 1963. Yelich turns on one and pulls it foul. Good effort there. It's your Toyota trend. Fewest pitches per plate appearance. Marlins near the bottom of that list. The Marlins on base percentage has not been good this year. Yelich is the best that the Marlins have going back to last year. And as a young hitter, you see the major league average, and you see Yelich 4.18. Prado's at second. There's one out. He got a breaking ball. He hits it deep and hard. Left center. Revere on the run. Makes the catch. Bangs into the wall and holds on to the baseball.
It's really, really an amazing thing to see how many balls the Marlins have hit hard already today and just don't have a whole lot to show for it. This is a great swing. Again, that breaking ball hangs up there in the zone. Yelich puts a great swing on it. Look at Ben Revere checking the wall, seeing how much room he has, peeks back up, makes the play, protects himself, rolls off that padded wall, and then has the headiness to get that throw in just in case the runner is thinking about advancing. That's a great defensive play by a center fielder.
But you think about the outs, the key outs in this ball game. As Bohr takes a strike. That one. You think about Gillespie's double play, the seed at the feet of Howard at first. Dietrich's hard smash that was a double play in the second. And those two line drive outs, one to left, one to center in the first. Bohr now, who bounced to short. Flips it out into left center field. This one a rather pedestrian play compared to Revere's. Ashe makes the catch, and the Marlins come up empty in the fourth. Is brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. Visit your South Florida dealer today. By Checkers, mix and match our famous Big Buford and Big Chicken Deluxe. Get 2 for $5. Checkers, it's in the bag. By the Florida Department of Transportation, remind you, drive sober, get pulled over. And by Coral Springs Auto Mall, across the street from the Coral Square Mall. We make it easy. Two legends in that shot, right? Lefty and the Fanatic. Steve Carlton, Citizens Bank Park. The Fanatic here tonight, as usual. Christian Yelich, nothing to show for two bolts to the outfield. One that almost got over Revere's head in the first, and the other that crashing catch up against the wall in left center. So Kohler goes to work. Freddie Galvis, Cody Ashe, Chad Billingsley. Twilight time here in Philly. Gillespie has it. How tough is it for a guy like Gillespie or any outfielder to get last night's play out of your mind on a ball like that where you have plenty of time to think?
You have to. Some guys, those plays linger for, but any outfielder that I've ever known that's been a good outfielder, you just watch it. You have to let it go because you have to focus on the current play because you've made that play 1,000 times.
Jessica, you've got more on that?
Yeah, I actually talked to Cole Gillespie about that costly error today. He said, look, it's still a tough play, but you've got to be able to turn the page. Today's a new day. It's a new game. You cannot carry it over. And so far, so good tonight for Cole Gillespie.
That's an interesting perspective. I think people assume professional athletes, no matter the sport, are robots. Here's a 1-1. Bohr's got it. And Kohler has two quick outs here in the fourth.
a guy like Cole Gillespie, his value is in being able to play different outfield positions at a moment's notice. So that's something that he's going to take very seriously, but at the same time, he has to realize holding on to an error mentally is going to keep him from flourishing and being able to play. You can't think in the past out there because that ball comes out there quickly, and you just have to rely on what you've worked on.
It's a cruel game, isn't it? I mean, you make a play like last night, all of a sudden a lot of balls, and they have been hit out to him already tonight. It finds you and tests you right away.
And we've seen some great plays from Cole Gillespie already at home. Made that great play in center field off Marlon Byrd. Over the shoulder catch in center field, full tilt towards the wall. So we've seen him make plays that have a very high degree of difficulty. That's just one play that he didn't make.
Two balls, two strikes. And he got him. Tom Kohler's first 1-2-3 inning of the ball game. 4 innings through, 3-0 Phillies. Look at downtown Philly. You can follow the Marlins, the Phillies, or any major league team all season long. MLB.com @bat, #1 app for live baseball. Up to the moment, any moment, you get in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and Preston Wilson's favorite, the pitch tracking widget. MLB.com @bat for your smartphone or your tablet. Ashburn's Alley out there in center field. A lot of history, obviously, with the Phillies stretching all the way back into the 1800s. Echeverria, slow breaking ball, rolled out to Galvis. 1 pitch, 1 out.
You hear a lot of guys say they have a plan when they come to the plate. When you swing at a slow breaking ball on the first pitch like that, it makes me question whether there was a game plan in that at bat. That in my opinion is giving an at bat away.
If you hit it like that is what you're saying. I mean, if you swing at a breaking pitch that's slow and you really have a great rip at it, does that indicate that you're looking for it and you have a planned first pitch breaking ball?
The thing about breaking balls is most guys don't hit a good breaking ball. You hit the mistakes. So even if you're looking fastball and they hang that breaking ball, then you can say, okay, I just picked out something good. But if it's a breaking ball that's down in the zone that you have to reach for, and it's the first pitch of the at-bat, that's not a very good approach.
Here's Derek Dietrich, whose approach actually has been pretty good in his 2 at-bats in this series.
And I know that because I did it wrong so many times.
Who finally got through to you, and how did you change that habit in the big leagues? Were you able to change that habit?
But you just learn to slow things down. It's about quieting your mind and understanding that the pitcher still has to give you something to do your job with.
Dietrich, left center. Revere looking up, and it's off the wall. And as I mentioned, for Dietrich, his approach last night and tonight has been good. Two hot smashes, that one was turned into a double play, the other an out last night. But this one he made sure no one could get, and the birthday boy has himself a double.
Just missed the home run. That's a really good swing. Good to see Derek Dietrich start to drive the ball to that left center side, left field part of the ballpark, as well as when he pulls the ball with power, because that's going to make his average climb. That's going to make pitchers harder to pitch to him, and it's going to give him a better opportunity to stick with this ball club.
Miami has 3 doubles tonight. One of them from JT Realmuto, and he's up now. Sends it into shallow right. Brown has the catch. Dietrich holding second. And up comes Gillespie. One thing that Derek Dietrich told me last week, this time around in the big leagues, he said it's been a lot easier for him psychologically. And I think the last 2 ball games is a great example. Key spot last night, pinch hitting, second and third, 2 outs. Hits it hard, does everything right, but Galvis gets the ball to his left. Tonight, hot smash that's turned into a double play. He said last year in those cases he would worry about it and get frustrated and may have gone away from his approach, but obviously he didn't waver tonight.
Well, baseball sometimes can go backwards on you. What I mean by that is the harder you try, sometimes the less you get accomplished. When you hit the ball hard and someone catches it, you just have to live with it. That's part of the game. You can't then say, okay, I hit this ball hard and I didn't get a hit. Now I got to try to do more, because that's when you get less. The results actually go backwards on you.
And Frank Menachino, Marlins hitting coach, said that one of the turning points for Yelich is not worrying about, because Yelich went through as he started to come out of his slump, he went through a 2 to 3 week period where his ground balls weren't finding holes, his hard hit balls were finding gloves. And Frank said Yelich was able to, not worry about the batting average, just worry and trust the process. And it's paid off for him. Gillespie walks. I mean, look at Yelich's night tonight, right? He had a liner that Revere almost misjudged, had to make a leaping catch on. That was his first at bat. Then he drove the ball to left center. Revere raced over and made a really nice jumping, crashing catch into the wall. So he's had 2 successful at bats in terms of process and execution, but 2 unsuccessful at bats in terms of results.
That's just how the game goes. Sometimes it doesn't seem fair, and it never feels like it evens out. People say, well, if you hit a line drive and it gets caught, you'll get a bloop. It doesn't work that way.
It's funny, but when you have a Carl Pavano on, or you work with an analyst who is a pitcher, they will also claim that it never evens out for pitchers. So if that's the case, who does it even out for?
Well, I think if you just look at the sheer success rate of a hitter as opposed to a pitcher, pitchers have the by far advantage. I mean, it's a whole lot easier to get someone out than it is to get a hit.
Spoken like a true hitter. Kohler trying to help himself. Chad Billingsley's 1-2. That is strike 3 called, outside corner. Miami gets a couple base runners and leaves them both. Halfway through in Philly, it's 3-0. Bank Park. Warm night and a good night for baseball. Our Geico Marlins moment, 1995. Greg Colburn set the Marlins club record. He drove in 7 against the Giants. And in the 14th inning, his grand slam finished a wild 12-10 win over San Francisco. We check in with Jessica Blaylock. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Rich. Ben Revere heading to the plate for the Phillies. He was one of the players that participated in that Phillies fan photo fest earlier today. And for him, he said it was such a cool experience. He remembers as a kid taking a picture with Ken Griffey Jr. and what a moment that was for him. So now that he's the Major League Baseball player, he says if he can help make a fan's day, well, that is definitely worth it.
Jess, that's a good story. In fact, he kind of made like Junior with a catch. It wasn't quite the greatest catch I've ever seen, which was the Spider-Man catch by Junior. But Revere going to his right made the catch, and he leads it off. The catch that was, to me, the greatest catch I've ever seen. It's better than Mays' catch. Ken Griffey Jr. saving a game. This is in 95, early in 95. Going to his left in the Kingdome, leaping, sticking up against the wall, holding the ball while fracturing his left wrist, his left hand stuck in the wall. But Junior bounced off the wall, held the ball. It saved the game, but it cost him a broken wrist. In the air and fouling out of play. Preston Wilson, greatest catch you've ever seen.
As far as context, that may have to be it. You know, not just the difficulty of the play, but the time that it was. A game-winning catch, dead sprint going back towards the wall. And I remember seeing him leap up in there and just seeing him cradle the glove as he comes back down. And knowing that he fractured his wrist, that's someone who left it all out there for his team on that play.
Yeah, it wasn't that he made the leaping catch at the wall. He made a leap into the wall.
Yes,
to get the ball. Full speed. Jake Diekman warming up in the Phillies pen. Kohler has a hot smash, flips it on over to first. Marlins Live pregame is tomorrow. It starts at 1 o'clock. Craig Minervini, Carl Pavano. Still recovering from Italian Heritage Night here at the ballpark last night. An inside look at Dan Herron's fine season as a Fish. And then it's Cole Hamels and Herron who go at each other tomorrow afternoon. Two and 0. Hot smash at Echeverria. Gets the out at first. So Tom Kohler has settled into this ball game with a couple of outs in the 5th. But it's a family celebration, networking event, fundraiser. You just want to get everybody out of the house or out of the neighborhood, get them to the ballpark. Your group can come to Marlins Park with all kinds of cool places to sit and all kinds of cool stuff to eat, including the new Cleveland or Sunday brunch. 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com/groups. Tom Kohler has set down 8 straight. Franco got it off the end of the bat, and Gillespie is there. 9 straight retired by Tom Kohler. 3-0 Phillies. we promised, the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Hashtag your photo FL Data Strong. Chance to be featured as the fan of the game. Brought to you by T-Mobile. There you go. Thank you, Judy. The Fanatic has just left after entertaining between innings. And now Jake Diekman takes over. It was short but sweet, wasn't it, for Chad Billingsley? 5 innings, 4 hits. Did not give up a run. Walked 1, struck out 2. So Diekman, the lefty. There's the Fanatic. There's a fan photo for you. Mike Schmidt, speaking of Schmidt, I think I saw him tonight up in the press box. He's working on weekends on home games for the Phillies television. Looked good, and it's good to see him at the ballpark. Ichiro now against the lefty, Martin Prado and Christian Yelich. There's the legend in between Matt Stairs and Tom McCarthy. Ichiro lines it into center field. And a little bit of a renaissance for Ichiro continues. A single to center. And here is Martin Prado. One thing about Diekman coming into the ball game, Dan Jennings, with Billingsley on the mound, put as many lefty bats as he had into the lineup, Preston, with good reason. Left-handers were hitting .429 against Billingsley, but now Billingsley got through the 5 innings. Here comes Diekman. And here's Prado.
The Marlins hit a lot of balls hard against Billingsley, but did not get the hits to show for it. And they're currently out hitting the Phillies 5 hits. And the Phillies only have 3 hits. But the 2 costly errors and some timely hitting led to 3 runs by the Phillies.
Ichiro is running, got a good jump. Ruiz's throws not in time. And for Ichiro, his 8th stolen base of the season. At 41, he still gets around.
He stays in tremendous shape. That's a good read on the lefty. Stole that base with ease.
495. He's approaching 500 steals. That's certainly a great mark. That base hit, 2,893 hits.
It's a lot of hits, and that's not counting the hits that he had in the Japanese league.
Most guys get to that mark their 20, 21st, 22nd year in the big leagues. For Ichiro, this is just his 15th season. Two balls, 2 strikes. Yelich and Bohr are behind Prado. A tough luck night offensively for Miami. Yelich has 2 of those hard hit balls you've talked about. Miami's 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Prado finds the line. And it kicks off the wall. Round first is Prado. Scoring is Ichiro, and he's in there with a double. And maybe that's the spark for the Marlins. You saw the emotion that Prado flashed when he got to second.
Well, he knows that's a big lift for the ball club right there. His 2nd double of the night. Stays with that ball, shoots it by Ryan Howard at first base, and with the stolen base of Ichiro, that makes that a really easy run scored for the Marlins right there. I like the good read. Make sure it's not caught. Take your turn. Coast home. The Marlins needed something good to happen.
Textbook stuff from Ichiro and Prado. And a 3-1 ball game. 2 doubles for Prado, 13 on the season. And now Yelich. Line to deep center. Line to deep left center to the wall. And so here he is 0 for 2 against a crossfire lefty in Jake Diekman. Phillies pen is up. Yelich sitting on an 0-1. Genmar Gomez in the hole. The throw to third, and Prado is out. That's the only play that Galvis had, and for Yelich, that was a base hit had Prado not been thrown out with Yelich's speed.
That's really just one of those plays where the only play the shortstop has, like you mentioned, is that play because he's reaching so far. But that's a good heads-up play by the shortstop and by the third baseman, recognizing that that play could come there. But on the other side of it, when you're down by 2 runs, you got to make that ball go through. You can't take that chance at second base. You're already in scoring position. Cardinal rule of baseball, don't make the first or third out at third base. He just did that just now.
Yelich back at first. I mean, the psychological grind of baseball. If you're Yelich, you're 0 for 3 right now.
And could very easily be 3 for 3.
It's like the Phillies dugout is on him a little bit about that very fact.
But it goes to show you how dependent you are on your teammates sometimes for some of your success. You know, a better base running play, he gets a base hit right there. So a lot of times numbers are one thing, but your team works together. Last night with Casey McGee on first base, the ball that clipped him in the leg, Justin Bour got a hit for that. But, you know, if he advances past the ball or is able to dodge that ball, the Marlins get men on first and second there. So there's plays in the game where you help your teammates out.
Bour fouls it off. It's 0-2. And now some of the right-handed bats, Morse, McGee, start to stir in the dugout. It's really hard, though, to shuffle your lineup when the back of your opponent's bullpen is right-handed and you've got lefty bats to start the game. You're going to need those bats to finish the game if it's tight. And so you would think a guy like Morse or McGee either in a double switch or in a pinch hitting spot. Bour swings and misses. And down he goes. But in all likelihood for Diekman, this is his only inning.
And if you're the Marlins, that has to be in your mind. The strength of this Phillies team is the back end of their bullpen. So you're thinking there has to be a great sense of urgency right now to try to put some runs on the board because you don't want to get to that back end with Giles and Papelbon.
Well, I stand corrected. It's not his only inning. He's not going to get a full inning. Pete Mackanin comes in to give him the hook to face Echeverria. West Kendall Toyota. Called to the bullpen. in the 6th. The Fan Express is here in Philly. Sort of. And you can book it. It's a luxury motor coach for your group. It'll bring you right to Marlins Park. 305-480-2523 or email groups@marlins.com. Good way to come to the ballpark. Here in Philly, the Marlins and the Phils. Genmar Gomez is out of Philly's bullpen. 39th appearance for the right-hander. And he comes in to face Adeiny Echeverria. Marlins have a run. Christian Yelich at first base. Gomez with that whippy delivery. Hit strike one. Echeverria has seen him and hit him. Yelich bluffs and Echeverria swings and misses.
That pitch was really far outside. So I don't know whether he kind of did a panic swing when he saw Yelich bluffing on that play, but that ball is way off the plate.
Outside of the telecast, we had that chart of all the places that Echeverria's hit. The one place it looked like psychologically he was affected was in the 2 spot. He had I think it was his first game in the 2 spot. He went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. And that was with D. Gordon in the leadoff spot.
And it's hard for a young hitter to not try to change his approach or his swing when he's moved up and down the lineup. That mentality comes with being a little bit more advanced as a hitter. You see Adeiny hits first, hit 444. In the 8-hole, 322 is the second highest. Hitting fifth tonight for the first time. And is sitting at 1 for 2.
It's not so much the order in terms of, oh, hey, I'm first, I'm third. It's the situations you find yourself in. And this is a 2-spot situation. Yelich a base stealer at first, tight game. That right side open. He swings and misses and strikes out. Miami is on the board, but down 2 in Philly. In Philly tonight, 3-1 Phils with Preston Wilson sitting in for Tommy Hutton. Jessica Blaylock, Rich Waltz with you. 3-1. The Phils have just the 3 hits. Miami with 6 hits. But a frustrating night for Marlin fans. Couple errors. Messy start to the ball game. Since then, though, Tom Kohler has pitched real well. Fastball misses up to Ryan Howard. He's got Carlos Ruiz and Dominic Brown. And that's a credit to Kohler, who was able to right the ship. And since that 3rd inning, has set down 9 in a row.
Marlins employing that great shift they have on for Howard, with Prado really in short right field.
Howard hooks that one into the Phillies dugout. Chase Utley watching. Ruben Amaro Jr., who earlier in the year, that one is rolled. Bohr ventured a little far out. Kohler is there, and he hits him on a nice slant pattern to first base.
That's one of those plays where Justin Bohr is going to have to learn, when you're in this shift and you have a slow base runner like Ryan Howard, if you have to range at all to the field side, you got to let the second baseman make that play and you just get there. You don't want to put extra wear and tear on your pitcher.
Chase Utley on the disabled list. He went on the disabled list on the 24th of June. You see his numbers. He is about 150 plate appearances away from having his contract vest. 250 plate appearances to having his contract vest for next year at $15 million. Ruben Amaro Jr., the general manager, did not endorse him as the starting second baseman earlier, and when asked again the other day, Amaro stood his ground and said that Utley's not the best second baseman the Phillies have. He said Cesar Hernandez right now is the best second baseman. And when Utley returns, Hernandez will still be the #1 second baseman. There's Pat Gillick, current president. Andy McPhail taking over in that role. Gillick, of course, was the wildly successful general manager of the Phillies. A lot of other places that he's been, from Toronto, Seattle, Baltimore as well. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. Andy McPhail will take over for Gillick. But as you look on paper, he's right. I mean, Cesar Hernandez right now, we talked about his on-base percentage, and Utley, just a nightmare of a season for the Phils. Big breaking ball and a strikeout from Tom Kohler, who is rolling right now. Kohler, 11 in a row set down.
Oh, this is a good looking pitch. Big Uncle Charlie from top to bottom. They call that the 12-6 rotation because it starts at where the 12 is on the clock and goes straight down to the 6. And if you're not used to seeing that type of curveball, it can lock you up. And he's done that twice to Ruiz tonight.
Here is Dominic Brown. Just to put a cap on the Utley story, he's hitting 179, 257 on base, 275 slug, 4 homers, 7 doubles. In the air, Gillespie is there, and Tom Kohler, 12 in a row, keeping the fish in this ballgame. It's 3-1 Phillies. in Philly. Marlins are headed to Phoenix for 3 against the Diamondbacks. And that's after Chevron delivers tomorrow's starters. Dan Herron and Cole Hamels finish off this 3-game set tomorrow. We start things with Marlins Live at 1 o'clock. Craig Minervini, Carl Pavano have that look at Dan Herron's exceptional season. Then it's Phoenix for 3. Then it's San Diego for 4. Derek Dietrich, JT Realmuto, Cole Gillespie, Genmar Gomez still in there for the Phillies. And Dietrich swings and misses. Dietrich turning 26 today. Hit a hot smash for a double play in the second, and then doubled off the wall in left center field. Gomez keeps it outside. Last 7 games, Dietrich has really swung it well, and that's as a starter and as a pinch hitter. The ability to handle the ups and downs of a major league season. That's what Dietrich said he's starting to get the hang of. And not much to prepare you for that, is it, Preston?
There is no preparation for it. You just have to go through it. No one can tell you what it's like. You have to experience it yourself. A lot of movement on these pitches from Gomez, but he can't seem to find the strike zone after getting Dietrich to chase that first pitch.
Georgia Tech shortstop for the Cleveland, Ohio native. Three and two. That brings the count back to 3-2. That's a tough one as a hitter. A pitch just outside the strike zone.
Especially for a guy who wasn't throwing a lot of strikes.
And that comes back and catches the plate. And down goes Dietrich. Gomez has struck out the only 2 he's faced. He stuck that one right on the corner. Here is Realmuto.
Good movement on that fastball. Had that little 2-seam action working back towards the plate. They call that a front door sinker.
That activated the pitch tracking widget on Preston's iPad, which looks like it was left in the dryer. What the heck happened to your iPad, man?
That's a game-used, travel-ready iPad right there. It's just well worn. It's got a lot of character.
It's got a lot of cracks in the screen. Oh, it fouled at the plate. Realmuto has doubled and flied out. Just don't cut your thumb like the guy in the commercial, the phone commercial.
You wonder why I don't answer you guys' emails.
Here's the 1-1. Busted his bat. It hangs up. Franco meets the tarp, and the ball lands in the seats. Cubs are leading the Braves 2-0 in the 6th. That is in Atlanta. And the Braves are having trouble offensively. They've got just 1 hit off of John Lester, who has struck out 5. Steve Cishek in Miami's bullpen. Cardinals are hammering the Mets 8-0. And that's midway through, bottom 5. That was a Bartolo Colon start, and it feels like and looks like that Bartolo Colon's season is not going to be like his last few, where he's kind of turned back the clock. His ERA is close to 5. I'll tell you who's pitching great and has turned back the clock successfully. John Lackey, who's gone 5 scoreless in that ball game for the Cardinals. Realmuto strikes out. Ruiz digs it out. And Genmar Gomez, 3 hitters, 3 strikeouts. Fish Family exclusive loyalty program of the Marlins. To learn more, log in, go to marlins.com/fishfamily. There's your code for tonight, all you Fish Family members. NL East. I assume that's 2 words. Is that right? Can I get a confirmation on that? Or an abbreviation and a word. Gomez misses down low to Gillespie, who is lined into a double play and walked. I mean, John Lackey has an ERA of 2.87. Something clicked for Lackey. And he's been a big boost to the Cardinals. Two 2-0 to Gillespie. Up the middle, that's a base hit, and that'll extend the inning, and that'll bring Casey McGee to the plate as a pinch hitter. Second hit of the series for Gillespie. We saw Cishek in the pen. He's loose. And Tom Kohler, his night comes to an end. Nice job by Kohler tonight after a wobbly start, a throwing error, a fielding error. It was his throwing error and Justin Bour's fielding error. 3 runs in the first 2 innings. But from that point, Presley set down 12 in a row.
Yeah, after a rough start, he was able to get back to doing what he does well. That's get ahead with the good fastball, able to get some swings and misses or bad contact with his breaking ball. Got some good ground balls to help him get out of some innings. That's when he's at his best.
McGee, that went off the plate. And Gomez has it and gets it to first to get the out. Miami leaves the runner. 7th inning stretch, 3-1 Phillies.
Martin Prado making his second start since coming off of the disabled list. Before going on the DL, he had only played third base for the Fish. Last night and tonight, he is at second base, and for manager Dan Jennings, he says that Prado's position flexibility is one of his greatest attributes.
Martin Prado is a winner. Everything about him, what he's willing to do for this ball club, and moving from third, which he had a tremendous first half, to play second while D shut down. The fact that he's got the versatility to do it, I think he speaks volumes about the type of players that you have to have if you're going to win, and he truly represents that.
And Rich, you mentioned this last night. Prado has plenty of experience at second base. He was even an all-star at the position back in 2010.
Well, you're right, and you think about it right now. If D. Gordon were healthy, Martin Prado would probably be in left field because that's where he played a lot as an Atlanta Brave. But as it is, there's a need at second base, and that's where Prado, at least for this next week or so, will be. Steve Cishek into the ball game. Cishek takes over. 7, 8, 9 hitters in the 7th inning. Phillies with a 3-1 lead. Cishek bothered by a stiff neck near the end of the break. Break came at a good time for him. Neck feels better, arm feels great, and you can see Cishek little by little ironing out the issues that he had early in the season.
We saw that good movement on the fastball on the arm side, that good tailing motion, sinking motion, and then a good slider last year. And also had really good control keeping the ball down at around knee level, because guys like him who throw from that sidearm three-quarter position, when they get the ball up, everything flattens out. The life isn't there, the movement isn't there, and they become a lot more hittable.
I think sometimes people feel for a submarine or a sidearmer that arm slot is different, unique, but you don't have to be all that precise. That's not the case. I mean, your arm slot for Cishek especially is just as important as it is for a guy that's an over-the-top type guy like a Matt Latos, or the three-quarter delivery guy like Jose Fernandez, swing and a miss. And for Cishek, who's been throwing like that since his college days, when he's off just a little bit, everything's off.
Yeah, you don't get the same movement, you don't get the same life. Everything changes, and the ball becomes, frankly, a lot more hittable.
Cody Ashe now for the Phils. First pitch swinging in the air. Yelich has it, and 2 outs for Steve Cishek. Tom Kohler, 6 innings, the 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned. Couple walks and 3 strikeouts. Odubel Herrera.
Another one of the exciting young prospects that the Phillies have going for them right now. Got good speed, plays a good center field, can hit.
Rule 5 draft pick from the Texas organization.
And that leg kick is just fun to watch. He stands with that back foot fairly close to the plate, then has an open stance and gets that leg kick up, and then strides back to a parallel position with his feet.
It's fun to watch. And he drills it right field and deep and off the top of the wall. Ichiro picks it up. Odubel has a double.
Say that 3 times. Just a good, solid base. Look at such strong legs, gets the head of that bat out. and bangs it off the right center wall. Ichiro doing a good job reading this ball, because you have to be careful if it hits off the hard part up top or the hard part at the bottom. It's going to come out really hard, but off that mesh that's covering the scoreboard out there, the ball dies. So you have to really try to figure out how that ball is going to hit the wall. Ichiro lays back and then has to go in and get it.
To center, Gillespie turns around and makes the catch, and Ben Revere is out. Cishek a scoreless 7th, 8th inning. It's 3-1 Phils. The Phillies bullpen arrives. Ken Giles getting ready for the 8th. Marlins and Phillies. This is a 3-gamer, which finishes tomorrow with Marlins live at 1 o'clock, 1:30 game time. On to Arizona. The Snakes, remember that 4-game sweep. The Marlins in midstream changing managers, and the Diamondbacks jumped them down in Miami. So that's a 3-gamer. And then San Diego. Marlins haven't seen the Padres yet, the new look Padres. Hopefully all the new look players will still be there by the time the Marlins get to the gas lamp. Marlins have not seen the Brewers as well. They will see the Brewers coming up. Ken Giles. Giles, last night an inning, Papelbon behind him. Phillies defensively send Ben Revere to left. Odubel Herrera is in center. And Ichiro shoots one out Herrera's way. And he makes the catch. Herrera looks like a different guy since cutting his hair, doesn't he?
Yeah, he had the big curly, like afro, like frilly thing working. And now he's just got a nice little cool haircut.
Not Oscar Gamble-like.
Looks more streamlined. He's looks a little bit quicker. Maybe the drag was slowing him down a little bit.
Good bullpen work by the Phillies tonight from Genmar Gomez. Giles tries to keep it in that same fashion. Prado lost his helmet. Pitch that was up and in. Prado's lined out and doubled twice, so he's had good at bats tonight.
Pitch registered at 87 miles an hour. Maybe it was a slider that just happened to get away from Giles. We know it was not his fastball. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is his fastball.
Yeah,
98, 99 is what you see.
Which is a lot scarier coming up and in than 87. And Prado turns it right back around into center field.
Prado enjoying a 3-hit night.
Yeah, and every ball he's hit has been solid. even the out he made.
That's a nice swing, ball up out over the plate. This goes to show you, no matter how hard it is, if it's not in a good location, big lead hitters can put the bat on it.
Came in at 99. So Prado's aboard. And here's Yelich. And it went back at 97 off of Prado's bat. Yelich fouls it off. Yelich's night, kind of emblematic of what the Marlins have been about offensively. Hard hit balls, not much to show for it. Carter Capps and Sam Dyson in Miami's pen. Yelich is squared up. 3 balls. Ben Revere, when he was in center, caught 2 of them. And then, remember, he sprayed that ground ball the other side. Galvis going to his right. Unfortunately, Prado tried to go from second to third and got thrown out. And with Yelich's speed from that side of the plate, he surely would have beaten it for a hit. Sitting on a 2-1.
I'd like to see Christian Yelich stay in that left center gap right here. A guy like Giles who's going to supply all the power. Leave a fastball up out over the plate.
Count 2-2. 23,655.
That's unfortunate. A fan took that line drive. Pretty direct hit right there. Hope that fan's all right.
Yelich into right field. He pulls that fastball. And the Marlins have runners at first and second. And up comes Justin Bour.
You know, I'm thinking if you're Giles, you did what you wanted to do. You made him pull the ball because you've seen Christian Yelich have such good success going the other way in this game. And when you throw in the upper 90s, you know, that's your strength. And Yelich just happened to do a good job of hitting and pulling that ball through the hole.
Yeah, sometimes you're so fixated on Yelich going to center, going to that left center gap like you talked about, you forget that he could turn on a high 90s fastball. Now Bour, the Marlins are only down 2 here in the 8th. Prado and Yelich with Bour at the plate. A productive July. Bour has driven in 14 this month. And remember, there were 4 days off for the All-Star break. Pulls a ground ball. Howard gets there. It's in fair territory. Gets the out. Prado at third. Yelich at second. And it's Echeverria. Echeverria singled in the second. He's bounced out, struck out. He saw Giles last night and bounced to third.
Big at bat right here with 2 men in scoring position. Gets the Phillies really good part of their bullpen, their back end, and you got a chance to put a couple runs on the board with a base hit here.
And a lefty bat and Derek Dietrich on deck.
Giles was missed with 2 breaking balls, 2-0. If you're Echeverria, you got to sit on that heater, and if you get fooled by it, get fooled by it. The last thing you want to do, though, is swing at a pitch and just feel for it and put it in play. In these situations, if it's a 2-0 count and you gear up to swing at that fastball and you start your swing and you realize it's a breaking ball, just pull out of there. Just get your bat through the zone and try not to make contact, because now you still have more pitches to work with. No need to put that ball in play.
So what's your optimal 2-0 swing look like?
Your optimal 2-0 swing should look relaxed, but just nice and on time. The problem that guys get in hitters counts 2-0, 3-0 is they tense up and try to swing too hard, and it makes them late.
2-1.
And so that's the chance you take. But with a guy that throws 99, you got a chance to drive in 2 runs. You look for the heater, you don't get it. So be it. Don't just feel for it and put it in play. I have no problem with that swing.
Fastball on his hands at 99. And now Giles has come back to even the count at 2-2.
And for Echeverria, we know that 99 isn't a problem for him to hit. You see this pitch running in on right here. But he's the guy who took a Roldis Chapman's 103 miles an hour fastball and got a base hit on it.
The fastest mile per hour pitch in which a batter's been able to get a hit since they've been recording the speed. And Chapman, obviously at 103, is above and beyond everybody else. Count full, 3-2. Does he stick with the heat? Does he spin one?
He went to the slider 2-0. In the back of your mind, you got to be aware that he may throw the slider right here.
There it was, and Etch just got a piece of it.
That's a tough pitch. 3-2. And you get a breaking ball. He did a good job fouling that ball off.
Miami down 2 with 2 men in scoring position. 2 outs in the 8th. High fastball at 100. And Echeverria chased it. And the Marlins lead 2 more. Still 3-1 Phillies. right now. We're trying to do this well on Bongo Cam. And Ryan Howard blasted that one into center field. Warren Henry drive of the game. Tough to do both. Dominic Brown lining one into center field. First 2 innings, Phillies put 3 on the board. Ben Revere. That knocked in a run. And the Marlins were down 3-0. Martin Prado lining it down the first base line. And that's Miami's only run. And that, the Warren Henry high def, excuse me, it was the H.H. Gregg high def highlights. Sam Dyson coming up. So Dyson arrives in the bottom of the 8th. If that sounded like a disjointed game summary, it's because Bongo Cam was on, and suddenly Preston and I appeared up on the scoreboard, and here we are having played along with Bongo Cam for the first 45 seconds, only to have to snap back into the game summary, and then there we were up on the scoreboard doing the summary while people were expecting us to play the bongos.
You know, our job's never done, Rich.
Look at this.
We have to do so many different things. We got to branch out and be able to play the bongos. Look at, you're trying to do the game summary and that's a little elbow Bongo Cam for you.
That's not fair. I mean, we worked hard last night at just working on our routine, and they throw us on.
Yeah. I stayed up all night trying to do that, you know?
Yeah, see, that doesn't work without the bongos that are transposed over the screen. There you see our all-star crew here in Philadelphia,
who just totally eggs us on with that. By the way, they're not helping.
Hernandez swings and misses. He strikes out. Cesar Hernandez striking out. Sam Dyson second out of the pen. Tom Kohler for 6. Steve Cishek for the 7th. And now Dyson here in the 8th. Well, they remember the performance that Tommy Hutton and I had, one of the strongest ever in Bongo Cam history of a couple years ago. Jonathan Papelbon is ready. Mikhail Franco. There's always tomorrow. Preston, there's always tomorrow. It'll be a little warmer tomorrow afternoon for Bongo Cam, but nonetheless. Dyson misses away. Now the Marlins will see Papelbon. Remember, they got a run against him yesterday. JT Realmuto homering, and it'll be Dietrich, Realmuto, and Gillespie. Franco a big swing and a miss. So the Marlins have Dietrich, Realmuto, and Gillespie lined up with Papelbon getting ready.
Dyson trying to turn around his fortunes here in Philadelphia. In 3 games, he's 0-1 with 11.12 ERA here in Philly, or versus Philly. So he's trying to get on a good run against a team that he's had some trouble against.
3-1 coming. Up the middle into center field. And Mikhail Franco, a loud single.
Well, it's easy to see why Philly likes this guy so much. He's got a really quick bat. He's the guy who hit the line drive to center field last night off of Carter Capps that Cole Gillespie couldn't play. And he turned that fastball around with a nice, crisp swing.
His hands like Marcell Ozuna. Now, Ozuna, by the way, has actually had some success down in AAA. Marlins sent him down to get his swing ironed out. Ozuna has shown power, and all of a sudden it feels like and seems like his stroke is coming back, which is certainly good news. Marlins can use him. Offense has been tough to get and find here in Philly. Ryan Howard now. Big shift. It's taken low and inside. Ozuna, just to keep you up to date, in 7 games, 29 at bats, 11 hits, 2 homers, 2 doubles, 379 average for Marcell Ozuna. Runner goes, and it's fouled off, and a .655 slugging percentage. And I think that slugging percentage is significant for a guy like Ozuna, whom the Marlins were counting on for power, for RBIs, for doubles, and it just wasn't there. But it looks like that. And the stop in New Orleans is doing him some good. Some of the adjustments that he has made are paying off. In the dirt, and it kicks by Real Muto. Franco around second with a big turn, and he'll stop there. It's a wild pitch.
And we just saw one of the hazards, or possible hazards, of having a big shift on when you got a man on first. If the infield isn't very alive and aware on a wild pitch, that runner can go from first all the way to third because the nearest defender is right by second base. So Echeverria does a good job realizing that and sprints over there to third to head off Maikel Franco.
Two from Dyson. Howard sends it out to left, shallow, and Yelich comes on and makes the catch. So Dyson has a pair of outs. Here comes Carlos Ruiz. Midsummer Classic coming to Miami. You get ticketing updates, breaking news, all information relating to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game 2017 in Miami. Go to marlins.com/ASG. The All-Star Week activities are going to be spectacular. A lot of them will be on South Beach. Others in and around downtown Miami. 2017 All-Star Game at Marlins Park. Carlos Ruiz, who was an All-Star in 2012. Dyson with that heavy sinker for a strike. We told you earlier that John Lester was one hitting the Braves, which was true at the time. But right now, John Lester is no-hitting the Braves, and that's in the 8th. The Braves changed a first-inning single to an error. Fastball is a strike. That was Atlanta's lone hit And so Lester now is through 7 innings and has a no-hitter in Atlanta. It's 2-0 Cubs. Pitches down low. It's interesting as a scorekeeper. Oftentimes you get into the 5th or the 6th inning of a no-hitter and a play happens, and you know, human nature and the tendency sometime is to, hey, it really has to be a hit to be a hit. But you're probably not thinking that way in the 1st inning of a game. Chopper, Echeverria gets the out. Nice play. And Sam Dyson works a scoreless 8th. To the 9th, it's 3-1. Here comes Papelbon. By Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. And by Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's largest Kubota dealer. Visit us at FloridaCoastEQ.com. Time-lapse shot, downtown Philly. I believe that shot from the Comcast building. That's just a guess. You hear the music. Soon you'll probably hear a few boos. Jonathan Papelbon is in. And you almost get a feeling that he feeds off the energy regardless of if it's positive or negative. Because look at his numbers. He's had another really good year.
He's comfortable being the bad guy. He doesn't mind it at all. I think it actually helps fuel him and gives him some more fire to go out there and pitch with a chip on his shoulder.
Last night, he gave up the home run to Real Muto, a single to Ichiro. But that was it. And he misses outside to Dietrich. Miami needs a base runner to start it. Dietrich has doubled. Real Muto has doubled. Gillespie has singled. And that's the trio that Papelbon gets here in the 9th. Muto's homer was to left last night. Three and 0. Gets a strike. 3-2. Papelbon has made no secret he would like to be traded, get out of Philly. The crowd, the fans know that. The Phillies have had trouble moving him. But in one sense, you have to respect the fact that he's continued to pitch well.
That has not affected the job that he's doing on the field. You know, and you have to respect that, because there's some guys who say all the right things but don't give the complete effort on the field. And, you know, he may not be politically correct, but he gives you everything he's got out there and he gets the job done.
Dietrich, ground ball, base hit, center field. Derek Dietrich, a 2-hit night. And here is Real Muto now, who last night, when the Marlins were down 4 in the 9th, faced Papelbon.
The interesting thing about this was this ball was thrown right where they wanted it. The catcher never had to move his glove, and Real Muto got to that pitch. So you got to think tonight they're going to change their strategy as far as where they try to pitch him, because they thought they had a hole there to get to expose him, and he got to that pitch. So I don't expect them to try that same pitch again.
Real Muto doubled back in the 3rd. He's flied out and struck out since. Down 2, nobody out. Runner on in the 9th. A breaking ball for a strike.
They see the ball up in the zone there. Last night, Real Muto hit the ball. It was down. Tonight, you can see Ruiz setting up a little bit higher in the strike zone, maybe trying a different attack against Real Muto.
Breaking ball, and he hung it a bit. Count stays at 0-2. A.J. Pierzynski has broken up the Lester no-hit bid. The second time that no-hit bid has been broken up in the ballgame. First inning hit was changed to an error when Lester got deep in the game with just the 1 hit. Of course, it would be bad form to go back and change that again, right?
Yeah. There'd have to be some letters written about that.
That would be a tough one to appeal if you were the hitter, right? 0-2 again. He doesn't bite. It's 1-2. Papelbon out of Jacksonville, Mississippi State star. Of course, had a great run with the Boston Red Sox. 5-time All-Star.
Michael Morris has got a bat down there. Getting loose.
Beg your pardon, 6 times he went to the All-Star game this year. And now it counts at 2-2. Fastball outside corner. And there's 1 out.
Oh, we said it. Look, there's not one pitch in that whole diagram that shows a ball down and in. They saw it happen last night. They hit every area except down and in. They went up and in, and down and away.
Now Gillespie. Morse has pulled in on deck. Gillespie lined into a double play, has walked and singled. So he's had good at bats tonight as well. It's the frustrating thing about tonight for the Marlins is there are a bunch of hitters up and down the lineup that will say or can say they had good swings at the plate. A lot of loud outs in the first 4 innings. Morse's numbers against Papelbon. He has homered, couple hits, 3 at bats. Ball and a strike. Papelbon has not blown a save this year. Going back to last year, he's 30 of his last 31. 16 straight, 14 this season. To center, Gillespie hits it well. Herrera is back, and he makes the catch. Marlins Live is coming up after the finish of this one. Checkers presents our post-game offering. Craig Minervini and Carl Pavano. That first inning haunting the Marlins right now. Our team Prado 3 hits tonight, including a couple of doubles. So it's Morse and it's Papelbon. You got Dietrich at first. A couple of singles last night for Morse. He's hit well in this ballpark. Runner goes, little tapper. Howard way off the bag, gets it to Papelbon, and the Phillies win it. Papelbon the save. Chad Billingsley